Déjà avant tout dañuy sant yàlla parce que yombul woon parce que équipe bu ñu doon jouer xamoon nañ ni dinañu poser ay problèmes te poser nañu ko et aujourd'hui génn nañ ci match bi gagné 3 buts à 0. Faut féliciter les joueurs qui ont été joué match bu sérieux bu am solo donc loolu lu ci am solo la enseignement yooyu tamit am na tamit ay fànn yoo xam ne war nañ ko corriger déjà pour mun a teel a dugal suñuy occasion mais tamit loolu mun nañ wax ni tamit manque de réussite la mais dinañ ci continuer liggéey bu baax a baax après xam na ni sa premier match la woon pour su premier match la woon c'est dafa amoon importance pour gagner ko et lu gënoon am importance def nañ ko léegi donc il faut ñu commencer préparer le deuxième match parce que tournoi bi ça vient juste de commencer.
Merci coach jërëjëf.
Adversaire ou bien c'est la base de votre projet de jeu dans cette CAN?
Oui, c'est vrai qu'aujourd'hui, on était très haut, mais après, dans les matchs, il y a un projet de jeu. Donc, c'est sûr que nous, notre projet de jeu, c'est un bloc très haut. Mais après, en fonction de l'adversaire, après, il y a des plans du jeu. Donc, plan du jeu, c'est en fonction de l'adversaire. Maintenant, on va étudier les équipes qu'on va jouer, on verra. Mais nous, dans notre projet de jeu, on veut vraiment aller chercher haut parce que ça peut payer et on a des joueurs qui font l'effort. Et voilà, et je trouve que c'est très intéressant.
Oui, coach, félicitations. Lamine Gueye des médias. Alors, 3-0, une entame parfaite. Moi, j'ai envie de vous demander qu'est-ce qui n'a pas marché? Est-ce que vous êtes satisfait à 100% ou est-ce qu'il y a des points négatifs dans la production d'aujourd'hui?
Mais vous me dites une entame parfaite, donc je ne pense pas que si vous me dites une entame parfaite, vous cherchez des choses derrière. Mais bref, il y a des choses qui n'ont pas marché. Tout à l'heure, il y a votre collègue qui a posé une question sur l'efficacité offensive. Il y a ça, déjà, il faut travailler parce que quand même, si on pouvait marquer plus, il faut marquer. Donc, il y a ça à travailler et il y a d'autres choses aussi à améliorer. Et surtout, on a commencé un match, l'entame, je pense qu'on a corrigé. Comme tout le monde disait que le Sénégal commence mal, en général, ces matchs. Et espérons que aussi sur les autres aspects qu'on va regarder encore le match ce soir avant de dormir, on va tirer les enseignements et pouvoir travailler derrière ça et pouvoir aussi, parce que quand même les adversaires sont différents et on verra en fonction des forces de l'adversaire et les faiblesses.
La toute dernière question ici devant.
Bonjour coach, c'est Pape Djibril Gaye du journal.
Le racisme offensif peut vous porter préjudice face aux grosses équipes. Merci.
Bon, je ne pense pas que... Ouais, aussi, il y a un gardien en face. Hein, donc, il est là pour arrêter les tirs adverses. Donc, voilà, il l'a bien fait. Ça arrive, il les a bien réussis. Mais je pense que les attaquants ont fait le geste qu'il fallait. Mais malheureusement, ça n'a pas allé au fond. Maintenant, c'est sûr qu'on aimerait marquer plus tôt. On va essayer de travailler. On a 3 jours ou 4 jours derrière pour essayer de travailler les choses qui n'ont pas été. Voilà, on a vu, c'est vrai que la finition, on pouvait mieux marquer, mais ce n'est pas le cas. Mais on va continuer à travailler. C'est une compétition, c'est un premier match, on verra. Et j'espère que mon équipe va monter en puissance sur tous les plans. Oui, c'est vrai qu'aujourd'hui, on était très haut, mais après, dans les matchs, il y a un projet de jeu. Donc, c'est sûr que nous, notre projet de jeu, c'est un bloc très haut. Mais après, en fonction de l'adversaire, après, il y a des plans du jeu. Donc, plan du jeu, c'est en fonction de l'adversaire. Maintenant, on va étudier les équipes qu'on va jouer, on verra. Mais nous, dans notre projet de jeu, on veut vraiment aller chercher haut parce que ça peut payer et on a des joueurs qui font l'effort. Et voilà, et je trouve que c'est très intéressant.
Oui, coach, félicitations. Lamine Gueye des médias. Alors, 3-0, une entame parfaite. Moi, j'ai envie de vous demander qu'est-ce qui n'a pas marché? Est-ce que vous êtes satisfait à 100% ou est-ce qu'il y a des points négatifs dans la production d'aujourd'hui?
Mais vous me dites une entame parfaite, donc je ne pense pas que si vous me dites une entame parfaite, vous cherchez des choses derrière. Mais bref, il y a des choses qui n'ont pas marché. Tout à l'heure, il y a votre collègue qui a posé une question sur l'efficacité offensive. Il y a ça. Déjà, il faut travailler parce que quand même, si on pouvait marquer plus, faut marquer. Donc, il y a ça à travailler et il y a d'autres choses aussi à améliorer. Et surtout, on a commencé un match, l'entame, je pense qu'on a corrigé. Comme tout le monde disait que Sénégal commence mal, en général, ces matchs. Et espérons que aussi sur les autres aspects qu'on va regarder encore le match ce soir avant de dormir, on va tirer les enseignements et pouvoir travailler derrière ça et pouvoir aussi, parce que quand même les adversaires sont différents et on verra en fonction des forces de l'adversaire et les faiblesses.
Puis, alors, quelle est l'analyse que vous faites de la prestation de Sadio? Merci.
Moi, je trouve que pour Sadio, il fait un bon match. C'est sûr qu'il lui manque le but derrière. En première mi-temps, sur le premier but, c'est lui qui fixe la défense et délivrer une passe derrière, l'avant-dernière passe. Et en deuxième mi-temps, c'est manque de réussite. Donc voilà, après, on joue comme Sadio Mané, il sait ce qu'il faut faire. Après, je pense qu'il va le corriger. Et aujourd'hui, moi, je vais plus dire c'est manque de réussite parce que c'est quelqu'un qui est très important dans l'équipe. On sait, on connaît ses capacités, on sait ce qu'il peut nous apporter. Et encore, je vais le redire ici, c'est notre Cristiano Ronaldo et c'est notre Messi. Donc, Sadio Mané, on sait de quoi il est capable. Donc, je n'ai même pas besoin de le juger.
Merci, coach Pape Thiaw. Merci à vous, chers confrères, et rendez-vous.
Déjà, avant tout, dañuy sant Yàlla parce que yombul woon parce que équipe bu ñu doon jouer xamoon nañ ni dinañu poser ay problèmes te poser nañu ko et aujourd'hui génn nañ ci match bi gagné 3-0. Faut féliciter les joueurs qui ont été joué match bu sérieux bu am solo donc loolu lu ci am solo la enseignement yooyu tamit am na tamit ay fànn yoo xam ne war nañ ko corriger déjà pour mun a teel a dugal suñuy occasion mais tamit loolu mun nañ wax ni tamit manque de réussite la mais dinañ si continuer liggéey bu baax a baax après xam na ni sa premier match la woon pour su premier match la woon c'est dafa amoon importance pour gagner ko et lu gënoon am importance def nañ ko léegi donc il faut ñu commencer préparer le deuxième match parce que tournoi bi ça vient juste de commencer.
Merci, coach. Jërëjëf.
Are you going to do it, but on a more serious note?
No, 3. I told you. So you were unlucky because I had a lot of chances to score 3, but next one, hopefully. So next one, hopefully I'll score 3, and then I'll give you an interview. Okay? Don't worry about that.
Inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah.
Okay. What last question there on the back?
Yeah, I feel like now I'm grown. Now it's different from before, and I'm very happy that I scored 2 after, but. Obviously, we're all strikers. We all miss chance. After I missed that one, I just try to forget and move to the next chance because I know I will have the next one. So, and then, I work harder and then I got few more. So I'm very happy that I scored 2, but it's never enough. So I just forget this game and try to focus on the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Nicolas Jackson, and once more, congratulations. Thank you. Yes, it's already on English, I think. Because the player that we got is in English. When the question we get the question in English.
Thank you very much and good evening to the members of media. Honestly speaking, it was a very competitive game. I think it's exactly what we anticipated. And I think you could see that we are playing against a very mature team. They knew that the inner spaces are closed. Now they had to go wide. And when they go wide, they increase speed, forcing those 1v1s, 2v1s. And if I can show you my notes, I think the first goal, the third goal, it's more or less the same. They went wide. Before we could even recover in the central space, they had already played the ball, and unfortunately, we ended up conceding.
Est-ce que c'est ce que vous avez trouvé aujourd'hui pour ce match d'entrée? Merci.
Thank you. Yes, I think we did. If you look at trying to close the inner spaces, the half spaces, where we knew that Mane and the opposite winger will be trying to go into, we did exactly that. But I think dealing with the full backs, that's where the problem was, because when they were climbing too high, sometimes maybe we were late to track them into our defensive zones, and that's why maybe they managed to score from crosses. If we want to be honest, I don't think they were really giving us problems through the central space, because that's where we knew that they will push Gue high up. They will also try to push Jacobs and all of those players that are more creative in terms of keeping the ball, but we tried to control the central space. But I think our biggest problem was how we shifted to the wider spaces. That's where they tried to play quickly, because they could see that we delayed to cover those spaces, and we ended up conceding.
Questions?
Unfortunately, it was against the top team, and I think, honestly speaking, we did well. Well in terms of dealing with certain impact of their game in making sure that they don't really dominate. And I'm happy that they did not dominate the central space, where when you look at some of the goals they scored against Kenya in their match, how they played against Brazil, they were dominating the central space. And I think that's one part that we did well, especially the half spaces. But honestly speaking, let's be honest, the quality on the side, I think, makes a difference today, because they could not break through the central space, but they were very aggressive going wide and bringing those crosses. And I think, again, it was a matter of saying they knew that will form a line every time they go wide. So their striker was always dropping back, and he was always alone between the lines, and that's how they managed to score. I think one thing that we needed to do was to say the ball is going wide, we need to organize the central space. But the ball was going wide, and we were chasing the line, but forgetting that there are players that are coming in late, or they delay to get into areas. So these are lessons in a game of football. And this is one aspect that you need to see it happening before you can coach it, because how they were running, they were forcing us to drop quicker, but at the same time, they were delaying so that they can get that space between our 6 yards space. And that's how they managed to score goals. And like I said, we needed to concentrate on blocking the central space, but our shifting had to be quicker in making sure that we don't allow them to play or overload on the side. Unfortunately, sometimes we will delay because the game was also demanding, the ground was a bit heavy, and these are some of the things that I think contributed in us losing the match.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Coach, what lessons do you take into the next game?
Thank you. Can you come again? You said how far?
How far do you think Senegal can go? Can go in the competition?
I think before we play Senegal, we knew that they are the defending champions, or one of the favorites for the tournament. And obviously, we had to firstly try and nullify their strength, and make sure that we try our level best to make sure that we don't allow them to do what they are good at. And I think at some point, we had it. I think the second goal really came at the period where the game was starting to balance, because we were starting also to play. But we made a mistake, and they scored the second goal. And obviously, in a game of football, playing against a top team like Senegal, you'll sometimes maybe struggle to come back into the game. But we need to be honest. You can see that even when they make substitutions, there's understanding of how they play. Their identity is very clear. Open the ground, force 1v1s, overload with fullbacks, or underlap with fullbacks, and that's what they are doing. Or drop the wingers into the half spaces and push the fullbacks high. And that's one thing that they have been doing consistently. So even when they made substitutions, it was very clear that they wanted to occupy the inner space to open the wider spaces. So I think we had to learn also to say, these are situations that we need to deal with. These are some of the things we did at training. But obviously the resistance and maybe the pressure from training to a match are completely different. Because the first goal, we knew that there will have to be that underlap that we have to track. And unfortunately, we're late to deal with that. But I think it's a team that one would say they are very competitive. And obviously, winning the match against us should not maybe make them be complacent and think that they have already won the competition. But they are doing well, honestly. And they are very structured, very disciplined. You can see that most of them are playing football at the highest level.
We'll take one last question for the coach here.
We don't have to put ourselves under pressure and think of Benin while we need to correct mistakes we made against Senegal. let's be honest, when we were preparing for the game, we knew that there'll be moments where we are going to have to play without the ball for the better part of the match. And I think when you look at when we considered the first goal, it was during critical phase, around 40th minute. And I think the second goal came in the first 15 minutes of second half, which was still another phase of critical phase in a match. And when you look at the last goal where they scored the third goal, it was again around the 87th minute, and they managed to score the third goal. So that simply says that as much as you were prepared and willing to play without the ball, obviously the ground was heavy, you were gonna get tired. Sometimes your actions might be delayed because of the pitch, or maybe you might be overloaded and ended up conceding. And that's exactly what they did. And like I said, there are moments where you could see that we are playing against a very mature team, where they wait for you to make a mistake. If you can profile and analyze the last goal, I think they could see that we were not properly organized on the left. And they played so quick that when we recover, the ball was in the back of the net. So these are some of the things that we need to say. I mean, they can only come from individual brilliance, which when you are trying to deal with them, you learn from them and say, this is what we needed to do in this situation. But unfortunately, you can only correct mistakes after they have happened. And it's exactly that has happened. But this has been a very good game, honestly speaking. And I'm very proud of our boys. I think they tried their best to make sure that they fight. The counter-attacks we got, which I think we could have at least scored one, but it's a game of football. We could not complete the actions. But lessons taken from this game.
Thank you, Coach. Wish you all the best for the next game.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bonsoir à tous. Coach, bienvenue à la conférence de presse d'après-match, match numéro 7.